You're listening to the Harmia podcast, the renaissance of Western spirituality, paganism and animism. We show the Dharmic path and common origin of Norse, Germanic, Vedic, Greco-Roman, Celtic, Balto-Slavic and Persian beliefs. We also draw parallels to the Proto-Indo-European worldview and the ancient beliefs we call the religion with no name. The Harmia podcast weaves the threads together to understand where we come from and let our true nature empower us in everyday life. We don't have to turn to the east. The answers were always right here. We are all pagan by instinct. Welcome to the Harmia podcast. First of all, a big thank you for the amazing response I've had already since the launch. Keep writing to me about what you want to hear more about. This is all about growth and community. The first 3 episodes were recorded on a really lousy microphone. It was the one I had at hand. But now I bought a new one, so hopefully you'll enjoy the improved quality. Now, one of the main purposes of this podcast is to really go in depth with Indo-European spirituality, to show the very roots and foundations of paganism and animism. So many people I've talked to really want to deepen their spirituality and devotion, but since education about these topics is non-existent, and since the closest to existential answers you'll get is on a hip yoga mat after a takeaway cappuccino, it's been close to impossible to see the full picture. Many people tell me their knowledge is partial and scarce, and that the pieces of the puzzle don't seem to fit, or that there are pieces missing. They might know that Vikings made bloats or have heard that Germanic tribes had a world pillar called Irminsul. They might wear a sun cross around their neck or might have heard a yoga teacher mention that the goal is for our soul to unite with the world soul. But without the full picture and without knowing why things are the way they are, it's hard to deepen one's spirituality. And it's even harder to truly practice it. True spirituality is practice, and for that we need understanding for what we are doing and where it stems from. I often hear pagans mentioning that there is a cosmic order by which we all live, that everything is interconnected and that there is a bond between man, nature and the divine. But I've never heard a thorough and satisfactory explanation of what it really is, where it comes from, and how it affects our understanding and practice of our spirituality. So that's what I'm doing today. Today is about Hartus, the very foundation of the Indo-European worldview. Has it ever happened to you that you come to think of a person you haven't met in a long time, and all of a sudden you bump into that person in the street, or you get a message out of the blue? Have you ever been in a situation where you've had to make a hard decision and flipped a coin to make things easier, and when you see the outcome, you feel deep inside that I wish it would have been the other option? Have you ever thought you got away with that promise you broke many years ago, but all of a sudden you realize that it hasn't been forgotten, but took an unexpected turn and hit you in the face today? Have you ever wondered how trees and plants know when to wake up in the spring, or why the seasons change? Have you ever felt that even though you have a great career and a beautiful house, that there's something missing in your life, and that you're meant to do something completely else, something more purposeful, but people tell you you're crazy if you give everything up? Then you've experienced the matrix we're all living upon. You've experienced Hartus, Wyrd, Rita, Logos, Asha, Urlog. No matter what you want to call it, it is the cosmic tree. It is the web you're living in. And it's striving for order, beauty, and synchronicity. First, a clarification. Hartus is a Proto-Indo-European term. That is what our oldest ancestors call the cosmic structure and their worldview. In all of the Dharmic world, it has of course had many different names, and I'll soon explain some of them. But for the sake of simplicity, I'll mainly stick to Hartus and the two Vedic terms Rita and Dharma. I choose to use the Vedic names since it's the oldest recorded tradition. I also choose to call them this because I often name the pagan branches Dharmic. These terms are intertwined. They hold each other up, and even the gods serve them and are subject to them. As a matter of fact, you could say that the supreme being in all pagan faiths is this structure. You'll soon see what I mean. The very foundation of Indo-European cosmology and worldview is that of the world tree. In a primordial state preceding the creation, the tree grows to become an axis connecting the heavens, the terrestrial world, and the underworld. The whole cosmos is centered around the tree. Its branches that are everywhere form the ordered arrangement of things, actions, and fate. We see it in the Norse Yggdrasil, the Germanic Irminsul, the Anglo-Saxon Eormensul, the Celtic Cran Behad, the mighty oak tree of the Balto-Slavic cosmology, and the Ashvatta tree in Vedic tradition. In the Norse and Germanic creation myth, there is first Ginnungagap, chaos, emptiness, and darkness. Ginnungagap represents limitless potential out of which Ymir, meaning screamer, takes shape. From his skull, Yggdrasil grows. Let's remember that shape of his head when we state that in the same way the Vedic god Rudra, meaning roaring, is the first potential when he takes the shape of the cosmic egg, with the first roaring breath out of nothingness. Those of you who have followed this podcast know that Rudra later became Shiva, meaning no thing, the black dimension of all potential. The twin brothers Manu and Yemo then creates the material world by sacrificing Yemo. All you attentive listeners, of course, remember Proto-Indo-European Yemo, now that I say that in the Upanishads, Yama, the Vedic god of death and Dharma, while instructing Nachiketa, describes the Ashvatta tree as the eternal world tree, which is the immortal Brahman, and in which all the worlds are situated, and beyond which there is nothing else. The whole universe has now been created and takes the form of a tree. This tree, whose stem, branches and roots is the world soul, is the Brahman, the divine all. The Proto-Indo-Europeans saw the cosmos as centered around a tree and surrounded by water. The water rises up through a well to feed the tree. The tree is the cosmos itself, an ordered arrangement of things and actions. And the water is chaos, disorder. The structure of the tree is the structure of the visible universe, its living skeleton. Here we get a first glimpse of order. At the foot of the tree is a well that extends downward just as the tree reaches up. The tree is the manifest, the water is the unmanifest. The tree is cosmos, and the water is chaos. The well-being of the cosmos depends on the well-being of the tree. No pun intended with a well-being. The way this order is expressed in a culture is called cosmology. Understanding a religion's cosmology is vital to understanding everything else about it. Cosmology describes the universe, not just any kind of universe. A cosmos is a universe that is ordered and beautiful. Cosmos even shares its root with cosmetic. This is especially true in Indo-European religion. It assumes not only that there is an order to things and that the universe is beautiful, but that it is order that makes the universe beautiful. The Proto-Indo-European cosmos is surrounding and incorporated among the branches and roots of the world tree, the axis mundi. The branches and roots are interweaving among all elements of the cosmos, like the capillaries intertwine the cells of your body. These elements are all parts of what is and what happens. Every physical thing, every action, every thought. Another common Indo-European image for the cosmos is that of a web or a weave, often called Wyrd. The Greek fates, or the Norse norns, they spin, measure and cut the thread of every individual's life. This woven fabric, these threads are then woven into the fabric of the cosmos, creating a pattern. This pattern, this weave of innumerable capillaries and branches, is the Hartus, the natural order of things, the eternal natural way. Its knots are the elements of the cosmos, objects, actions, ideas, emotions, etc. The cords are what connects them, and the pattern formed by the knots and the cords is the Hartus. In this way, all the elements in the cosmos are interconnected. Since each element is connected to every other element, a change in any one will affect every other one. Motion of one knot will cause the other knots to move. The extent to which they move will vary based on the distance from the initially moving knot. Some will move more, some less. What happens in my backyard is more strongly linked to me than what happens in a galaxy far, far away. In the waters of chaos lie the seeds of cosmos. Where the world tree meets with a well, it extracts those seeds and incorporates them into its branches, the Hartus. So where do those seeds come from? How do they get in the waters of chaos? Well, the world tree's fruits are falling into the waters that feed the well. The tree feeds the water with its seeds. The water transforms them into nutrition and feeds them back into the tree. The tree transforms them into its branches and incorporates them into the Hartus, and then feeds them back into the water again, and the circle turns. We see this imagery in Norse cosmology too. Drops of honeydew fall into the surrounding waters. Chaos and cosmos are joined together into an eternal cycle. And what are these fruits? They are the deeds of everything that is part of the cosmos. The Hartus is not an external order. It arises from the cosmos itself. It is a living organism. It is affected by all events in the cosmos as it affects them. There is an exchange occurring at the very heart of the universe. Cosmos gives to chaos. Chaos gives to cosmos. In a previous episode, I mentioned reciprocity as essential to Indo-European spirituality. Our deeds, honorable or dishonorable, affect yourself, your family, your kin, and the rest of the world. This is haminya, or karma. The Hártus is shaped by what has happened before, what you have or have not done. We form our lives within Hártus, and then our lives, like everything that happens, are fed into the Hártus. Everything we do, and eventually we ourselves, also fall into the waters of chaos. Eventually, however, like the water from the well, all that we've given to chaos returns to cosmos. Here it feels important to point out two things. One, that one of the biggest differences between Dharmic spirituality and Abrahamic religions is that there is no original sin. Just because you're a human being, you're not automatically a fallen and lower standing creature. Paganism is about cause and effect. Things happen not because of chance, nor do they happen because it was predestined, but because we're living in a web of cause. And here we come to number 2, another big difference. Actions and deeds are not binary, as in purely good or bad, virtue or sin, black or white. Cause will have effect, full stop. One person's loss might be another person's gain. If you've acted following your Dharma, it can't be seen as sinful. It'll rather gain the whole, even if it's sometimes hard to see in the short run. It's very important to understand that the Hartus, the web of Wyrd, isn't about everything being one. It's about the many being interconnected to each other in relation. Without the many, without distinct elements, there won't be any relationship, there won't be any pattern. The Hartus is not about the one. It's about unifying and unification, the action and the pattern formed by acting. This requires there to be more than one. Individual actions give rise to the Hartus by their relationships. And by that it could also be said that the Hartus gives rise to the individual events. The divine and the Hartus permeates everything, every soul, every spirit, every god. But we are not the divine. We are of the divine. And we are individuals tied to each other and tied to the divine. In the Hindu Advaita philosophy, there is no Atman, no individual soul. There everything is Brahman. But in most other pagan branches, we are not Brahman, but rather a weave of individual Atmans of the same material, the same divine material. I said earlier that the well-being of the cosmos depends on the well-being of the tree. Our actions affect the growth of the Hártus. Our actions might be unaesthetic, inappropriate. It is our freedom to choose among the alternatives that the situation offers. These include possibilities that might violate the Hártus, go against what's natural, and change Haminya. The branches of the tree aren't stiff, because then they would break. We can push against them, bend and turn them along new paths. This changes the outcome. It might result in our new situation being very unpleasant. The actions of others, including those of the natural world, may also be forcing the Hártus into ugly patterns. And it's up to us to react upon this. Each time something ugly or something that goes against natural order occurs, the Hindus call this adharma. It is incorporated into the Hártus. It becomes one more element which the Hártus harmonizes and turn into beauty. It is the Hártus as a whole that is beautiful. The local Hártus may be very unaesthetic. You can go against your own nature. Many people do every day because they don't know themselves or aren't allowed to be themselves. But the Hártus is the natural order. It tends toward the beautiful, meaning that its pressure on us will always be to turn us toward the beautiful, to follow our own nature, our so-called swadharma. If we cooperate with this tendency, then we are working with the Hártus, and beauty will be increased. All the beauty in nature and life, righteousness, justice, union, following one's nature, love, generosity, harmony, even attraction, gravity and magnetism in nature and between people, is personified in Freya, Aphrodite, Venus, and Lakshmi. The Proto-Indo-Europeans called her Priya, and I gotta say that's quite close to Freya, despite being 8,000 years later. The Hartus is the universal pattern. The word itself comes from the Proto-Indo-European root Khar, meaning something like to fit together in an appropriate or aesthetically pleasing way, or one which is organized and beautiful, properly joined, right, or true. In life we have an immense number of choices as to what to do. But our choices are also constrained by who we are, what contributes to order and beauty, and what has happened before. Our personality, education, family situation, our preferences, our hamingya. And also based on our varna, our swadharma, and our ashrama. These last three are Vedic terms meaning our calling, our true nature, and the stage of life where we're in right now. I'll explain them a bit more in this episode, but also more in depth in upcoming episodes. What choice we make decides what direction the Hártus takes. Our goal is to act the way that is the most appropriate, what is the most pleasing to the whole, and what will make us grow the most. Here's where the etymology of the word comes in again. The root khar, once again meaning to fit together in an appropriate and aesthetically pleasing manner, to dovetail, to harmonize. In a previous episode I mentioned the Sanskrit term seva, to act like him, to act like the divine. To grow closer to the divine, we should act in accord with what's honorable, what serves others, and what's best for our surroundings. That will grant us honor, growth, luck, and a better position. If we look at the Greek language, we can derive words like aristos, meaning the best. For example, in aristocracy. We have harmony, and also ararisko, meaning to fit, adapt, or harmonize. We also find arithmetics, how numbers fit together in maths. And we also have the very important Greek philosophical concept arete, meaning virtue, to excel and perfection. It was the heroic ideal of striving to excel in whatever you take on, and to always live by that virtue no matter what you took on, to do every task in a beautiful way. And when we take a look at Latin, we find words like art, and even ritus, that is, rite and ritual. The Avestan and Zoroastrian cosmic order Asha can also be derived from the Hártus, via the Proto-Iranian word Hertus. Both linguistically and ideologically, Hártus is also the root of the Vedic main theme and cosmic order Rita. Hártus, Rita, and Dharma are of utmost importance for all of the Indo-European pagan branches. The Rig Veda is probably the closest we get to our Proto-Indo-European origin, at least before we get to archaeology and linguistics. It's the oldest of the Veda scriptures. It was composed in northwest India 3,500 years ago, and before that it was orally transmitted for thousands of years, which makes it the oldest religious text in the world. In the Vedas we read that Rita is the universal law and the truth about everything. It is the cosmic principle which regulates and coordinates the operation of the universe and everything within it. something that is constantly true about the being and the very essence of everything. That which is ultimately responsible for the proper functioning of the natural, moral, and sacrificial orders, and what makes life and universe possible. One could actually say that it is Brahman, the absolute divine itself. Everything has this inherent quality by which it progresses and lives. The features of nature which either remain constant or occur on a regular basis are the manifestation of the power of Rita in the physical cosmos. Sun rises, seasons change, beings live, rivers flow. What is natural is Rita. Not even the gods have any command over Rita. They don't govern it. They too remain subject to Rita. Their divinity lies in the fact that they serve it and uphold it. They are its executors, agents and instruments of its manifestation. Rita is also the root of the word Rishi, an enlightened being. The Vedic god Brihaspati, whose name also comes from Rita, is referred to as a Rishi with a bow with Rita as its string. Agni, the eternal fire, in Norse we call him Logi, is described as one who is desirous of Rita, Rita-minded, and as he who spread heaven and earth by Rita. Ushas, the Germanics would call her Eostre, the Romans would call her Aurora, is described as having been placed at the root of Rita. The god Varuna is praised as having the form of Rita. Mitra is said to be destroying the foes by Rita. Indra, Thor for the Norse and Perkunos for the Slavs, brings out Rita for the people to see, and he fights all those who blocks Rita. The name Indra comes from Indrian, meaning the senses. So this universal truth can be perceived by our own senses and intellect. You can feel and understand when something flows with nature. In Rig Veda we read, O Indra, lead us on the path of Rita, on the right path over all evils. Rita is neither the act nor the result, but the natural law that guides the act and makes the result beautiful and prevent chaos in the world. Already in the earliest Vedic texts, Rita is an ethical principle linked with the notion of cosmic retribution, that is, karma or haminya. We fulfill our true nature when we follow the path set for us by the ordinances of Rita. Then we have the favor of the gods. Failing to follow those ordinances results in various forms of calamity, suffering, dishonor, and bad luck. This karma, or haminya, if you will, has to do with the Norn skuld. She is the Norn of future actions, and her name means both shall and debt, meaning that we have a debt to the future, that we should do the right thing, we should follow natural law. Because if we don't, then it will affect both you and your kin. Karma is our soul's memory of everything physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional we've ever done. It is what constitutes the framework and limitations of our psyche. We get stuck in patterns if we don't do the right thing. We reap what we sow. This is where we come to Dharma, the next crucial concept of Indo-European spirituality. Sometimes I get the question what I mean when I say paganism is dharmic. Isn't that an Indian concept? What does that have to do with us in the West? My answer is always that this is the very core of paganism. The view of the universe as a tree whose branches, roots, and foliage consist of the eternal natural order and the cause and effect of our actions. That our lives grow with the tree, and that our lives grow the tree. Wyrd, Asha, Tau, Logos. The names have been many. There was a time when all the peoples from Ireland in the west to the Philippines in the east were dharmic. In fact, the Hartus, Rita, and Dharma have nothing to do with religion. Dharma is universal. Our ancestors weren't religious in the modern sense. Rather, they followed customs, traditions, and a worldview that was perfectly natural to them. The most important for being spiritual and in harmony was to follow the eternal natural way. No matter if you're a pagan, a Christian, a Hindu, Jew, Muslim, or an atheist, you can still understand that the true nature and function of fire, its dharma, is to burn. The dharma of a river is to flow. The dharma of a flower is to bloom and seed. It's applicable to anyone and anything. This is why the ancient Greeks called it logos, because it's logical. Logos means reason, both as in reasonable and in the reason. But let's once again go to linguistics. That'll explain even better why I say that the Norse, Anglo-Saxons, Celts, Slavs, Greeks, Romans, Persians, and Vedic, and many other people were all dharmic. And as so often, it begins with the Proto-Indo-Europeans. We've already seen that Rita is the world tree and the web of order, the natural essence, cause and effect. But what about Dharma? If Rita is a noun, cosmic order or natural law, then Dharma is a verb, to uphold that order or to honor that agreement. It all stems from the Proto-Indo-European verbal root der, to establish or to put in order. From this root we also have dermen, that which is established, which has been put in order or law. We'll soon get on with Proto-Indo-European, Sanskrit and Greek, but let's just stop here for a minute and remind ourselves that örlog, the Norse primal layers of fate and outcome, originally meant breaking an oath. The last part of that word literally means law. By swearing an oath to build habits of the right actions, we can lay our deeds into the web of Wyrd, where they form layers shaping our örlog. These oaths were sworn in front of others to make it public and be held so that you could be held accountable. But most of all, the oath was sworn in front of yourself, that you're aware of your own commitment in life and that you're going to follow through. If you break that oath, you're also breaking the cosmic law and you're at war with your own nature and duty. You're basically at war with yourself. And that would be a losing battle. Only those who have kept their promise to fight for their true calling and beliefs go to Valhalla, the true death of the hero. Örlog is what our soul has been called to do and fight for. It's a choice we make, because Val in Valhalla means choice. And the Indo-European aspect of reciprocity gives us the rule of haminja, that fortune favors the bold. Now, from der and dermen. We also derive the Greek word themis or themis. Themis is both a goddess and a concept in the ancient Greek tradition. It literally means to put in the right place, or when things are correctly settled. When it came to law, the Greeks distinguished between cosmic law, theman, and man-made juridical law, nomoi. As a concept, it means decree or law, that which is established, an agreement or to honor that agreement. The goddess Themis is the personification of the unchangeable divine order and natural law. She is the divine order permeating out to settle the order among men. She is the perfect example of how to live in accordance with the customs, moral, and traditions that were considered natural and right. Themis also supervises the ceremonial and ritual, so it's correctly performed. I've previously mentioned that the sacrifice of an honorable life is what upholds this world. But chronologically closer to the Proto-Indo-Europeans, we have the 5,000-year-old Vedic Sanskrit, where the whole concept of Dharma was refined. There we fittingly find the verb dri or dar, meaning to hold, uphold, or support. Figuratively, it can also be given the signification sustainer, bearer, or upbearer. With that verb, the noun dharma means that which sustains or maintains the law. In the hymns of Rigveda, we learn that the gods Indra and Soma see that the cosmos is parted in what is and what is not. And out of what is, Rita arose to support the universe in all the chaos and void. In Rigveda, we also learn that Brahman created the universe from chaos and that it holds Dar, the earth, sun, and heavens apart, and placed north, south, east, and west to support, also Dar, and pillar the heavens over earth. Fun fact here is that these points of the compass is what the Norse originally called dwarfs, dvergar. They carry the upper realms. We see a practical example of this in the many dolmen graves and burial mounds, where the 4 megaliths represent the cardinal directions, carrying the upper realms and Midgard, and separating it from the netherworld. The gods, mainly Indra, then serve this supporting force and hold order from disorder, harmony from chaos, stability from instability. It becomes clear that Hártus, the eternal natural law, is something that is, something constant, while Dharma is something you do, your part in supporting and maintaining cosmic order and beauty. It is your duty, it is your inner nature, it is the meaning of life. Dharma designates behaviors necessary for the order of things in the universe, principles that prevent chaos, behaviors and actions necessary to all life in nature, society, family, and at the individual level. That which all beings must accept and respect to sustain harmony and the order in the world. Dharma is the need for, the effect of, an essence of interconnectedness of all life through Hartus. The behaviors that are in alignment with the order of the universe and Hartus. The pursuit and execution of one's nature and true calling, thus playing one's role in cosmic concert. If we know the inner nature, the Rita, of a bee, we understand that it is doing its dharma when it produces honey. Same thing with the sun. It's in its very nature to burn and make life possible. So by constantly radiating light and solar energy, it's fulfilling its Dharma. If Rita is the goal, or even the way, then Dharma is to know the way and to go the way. This is what Hamingya is, or karma, to once again use Vedic terminology. To act either in congruence with or in opposition to your Dharma, and thus to Hartus. And your actions stand in a causal relationship to the pleasures and pains one experiences in life. All that is beautiful in this world is Freya, Venus, Aphrodite, Lakshmi. Physical beauty, but also that the whole universe is permeated by beauty. The beauty of patterns and connection, of balance, harmony and osmosis, of attraction and union. The Indo-European worldview is a tree whose branches connects us all. It is this law of attraction that holds the Brahman and Atman together. Next time you hear your colleague mentioning yoga, don't just think of pastel mats and tights, but remember that yoga actually means yoke. It means that your soul is immortal and a part of the divine, that you're connected to the absolute, that there's an interconnectedness between us all through Hartus. Try to unite the divinity in yourself with the divine in all things, were Plotinus' last words. When followers of Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, say Namaste, meaning I bow to you, they don't mean that they are bowing to the person in front of them. Rather, it is the divine within themselves, bowing to the divine inside the other person. Because we're all part of the divine. We're all connected by the web of Wyrd. When you see the cosmic beauty and your own inner beauty as a part of the all, then you can start doing your Dharma, or Dharmen as the Proto-Indo-Europeans called it. You start gaining Hamingya. You are fulfilling the highest expression of yourself. You are fully who you are, expressing your very essence. When you're doing your Dharma, you claim your divine right. You are the architect of your own fortune, and the gods will reward this. Hártus upholds those who uphold the Hártus. The most beautiful thing in this world is when someone follows their Dharma. That's what the gods want. There is a right thing to do, a right way to be you. That is the best way to uphold and beautify this world. It is what brings the most Hamingya. Living by the Hartus is performing ritual. It is the true sacrifice and offering. All of Indo-European life and spirituality is simply an attempt to know the Hartus and to live by it. To find your place in things and to fulfill that place to the best of your abilities. To perceive and understand the Hartus is important, but nowhere near as important as living in accordance to it, as doing the Hartus. It's only when you do the Hartus that you are the Hartus. So now that we know what Hartus and Dharma is, how do we explore it and follow it? That is of course a whole science in itself, but I will give some suggestions. Some of the things I recommend are topics that will definitely be covered in future episodes too. The first advice must be the Delphic maxim inscribed on Apollon's temple: know thyself. We need to know who we really are. Not what's expected of us, not what others want us to be, not what we were told as children, not what you're trying to be to impress. You need to be you. You need to hear your true calling. The Proto-Indo-European word for your individual soul and part of the divine was Hártus. Swa means self. So the word is basically your swa in the Hartus. There are so many Sanskrit concepts for understanding yourself. Swadharma, a term corresponding to Hártus. Swadhyaya, self-study and introspection. Swarupa, your true self-form. Swabhava, the process of self-becoming, your individual characteristics. Apollon's maxims are meant to stimulate our natural love of wisdom, our inclination to philosophy and the pursuit of truth. Know thyself to know your place in the great order of things, Aeschylus writes in Prometheus Bound 2,500 years ago. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, says Aristotle. Ask yourself, am I living my own life or someone else's? And start meditating. You must plunge beneath your crowded thoughts and calmly contemplate the higher realities with pure, focused attention. If you do this, a state of inspired serenity will remain with you throughout your life, shaping your character and benefiting you in so many ways, said Empedocles, also 2,500 years ago. And listen to yourself. It's only when we've erased all nonsense and noise around us that we can meet ourselves. And only by knowing thyself, you can be beautiful. Act with what the Greeks called arete, with excellence in every task you take on. If you're going to the gym, do your best. If you're cooking dinner for the family, do it with arete. When you make love to your partner, be the best lover you can. Even if you don't like your job, strive to excel in it, at least till the day you quit. If we are just that little small flower in this massive tree, then let's at least be that in full bloom. Remember that Hartus is excellent, so act with excellence, with quality, with elegance. Arete is a way to live up to your full potential. Even arete stems from Aristos, and further back Hartus. Be the hero of your own story. Do brave things that are bigger than yourself. The meaning of life is to live the best version of yourself. Ask yourself, if my life was a movie, would I watch it? Seek your Varna. Varna is a Sanskrit term for colors, or it means colors. So it's basically your true colors. Are you genuinely a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or a Shudra? I'll make an episode just about this, but for now, Google it. Google Varna. And be generous. Be the host and you'll become the guest. Do selfless service. The rune Gable teaches us that if we give, we will receive. Seek and strive for harmony, balance, and simplicity. Spend time in nature. Create relations to the gods. And when you do, don't just go to them when you need to or need something or when you want some fun. what kind of relationship would that be? Dharma is your duty. Now, duty might sound boring and harsh, but I can tell you that your duty is to live beautifully. To know thyself and live out that calling and purpose is to act beautifully. Do what feels natural to you and what makes you feel genuinely good. Do what makes you grow. That's your skuld to your future. Duty might sound dull, but on the contrary, you have a responsibility towards yourself to let yourself live the best you, the true you. The meaning of life lies in the human completeness. And paganism is like nature. It just wants to live and grow. So ask yourself, who am I? What can I do right now to come closer to that person? What can I do that would be beautiful to myself and to my surroundings? And what can I do to really grow? Because life, nature, and Hartus wants you to. Before I go, I want to say that those of you who are interested in deepening the practice of your faith and seeking more knowledge about Indo-European spirituality, you're all welcome to join our Discord server Harmingya Foundation. You'll find the link on the contact page on our website harmingya.foundation. I want to thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe so you increase your Harmingya straight away. You will find more information about the podcast and the foundation on harmingya.foundation. You will also find us on Instagram, Discord and YouTube, and more platforms will follow. Feel free to contact us if you have questions, requests or need guidance. I hope to hear from you soon and that you'll tune in next time. And until then, seek not the religion of your ancestors. Seek what your ancestors sought.